BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? Jags fans, it is one of the most exciting times of the NFL offseason. The Jaguars are going to be preparing for the 2024 NFL Draft just here in a couple of weeks, and I don't just speak for myself. I definitely speak for the entire Jaguars community when I say that we're excited for it, and there's a lot of anticipation leading up to it. Now, I will also say I've been working on a lot of great Jags content, draft content specifically, leading up to the draft behind the scenes. I'll dive deep into that a little bit later on. But Jags fans, if you guys appreciate the work and the content that I make here on YouTube, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure that you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. But let's stop wasting time and let's go ahead and get into this Jaguars full 7-round mock draft. Now, the Jaguars have 8 total picks going into this year's draft. They have a pick in every single round, and they have 2 picks in the 4th round. The Jaguars have picks numbered 17 overall, 48, 96, 114, 116, 153, 212, and 236. And I will say a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm going to make this first mock draft for you guys extremely unrealistic. After the news had broke that the Houston Texans had acquired Stephon Diggs yesterday afternoon, as you guys are seeing this video, I was livid and I said, you know what, I have to go up in the lab and cook up a perfect mock draft for you guys. You guys always tell me to let me cook, so you know what, man? Let BJ cook. Now I'm gonna spice things up right off the bat with an unrealistic mock draft. Now, the Jaguars are going to be trading the 17th overall pick and our first round pick at number 32 overall in 2025 to the Los Angeles Chargers for their first round pick at number 5 overall. So we're moving up from 17 this year, giving up our first round pick next year, and we're going to move all the way up 12 spots and get into the top 5 of this year's draft. And I'm not done. You thought I was done? I'm not done. I'm also going to be trading away our 2nd, our 3rd, and our 5th round pick. So that's picks 48, 96, and 153 overall to move back into the 1st round at 31 overall. And I'm going to be trading and swapping all of those picks with the San Francisco 49ers. So now I've cooked up a mock draft already off rip where we've got a pick in the top 5 and another late 1st round pick at number 31 overall. It's time for me to cook. With the 5th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Malik Nabers, wide receiver, LSU. Welcome home, wide receiver 1, future franchise-altering wide receiver, the next Jimmy Smith, the next Keenan McCardell, the next great wide receiver to step foot into the Jaguars organization. And you give Trevor Lawrence his desperately needed wide receiver 1. The Jaguars have an expensive wide receiver room. Gabe Davis just got a contract. Christian Kirk has an expensive contract. Zay Jones is on the last year of his contract. You need to get younger and you need to get better in your wide receiver room, especially to acquire a wide receiver 1 who you can build a long-term future with Trevor Lawrence. Look at all of the other smart, competent general managers across the game of football that have helped their young franchise quarterback get wide receiver 1s. Look at what Miami did for Tua Tagovailoa, acquiring Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Look at what Philadelphia did for Jalen Hurts, getting him Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Look at what Cincinnati did by acquiring T. Higgins and by getting Jamar Chase in the draft for Joe Burrow. You have a young franchise quarterback, get him a wide receiver 1. We will never see Trevor Lawrence's true potential in Jacksonville until we get him a wide receiver 1 with health. Back to Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is arguably the greatest wide receiver in LSU history. You heard me right. LSU is not only wide receiver university, you've obviously had notable names in the recent years with guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase to come out of LSU. But Nabers is the all-time leader at LSU in catches and yards. He led the country last season in yards per game, and he averaged 17.6 yards per catch, including 14 touchdowns. And Malik Nabers comes in at 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He registered 89 receptions on 128 targets, 1,568 yards, and 14 touchdowns for the LSU Tigers last year, helping Jaden Daniels acquire his Heisman Trophy win last season. When you talk about Nabers and some of his abilities, I won't be too long-winded with this. He's an incredible route runner, a guy who's got a great feel for the game. He's got the game speed and the acceleration to beat defenders off of the line of scrimmage. He's very fluid with his footwork and his ability to adjust mid-air. He does a great job overall of tracking the ball down, making those contested catches, and a lot of 50-50 balls in the air are really 80-20 balls when you're throwing it to Malik Nabers. Huge draft pick for the Jaguars. You get your franchise in wide receiver one for the future. And now your wide receiver room looks a lot better, the offense looks a lot better, and Malik Nabers is a Jaguar. With the 31st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Kool-Aid McKinstry, defensive back, University of Alabama. Give me a grand slam. The Jaguars have now taken Malik Nabers and now Kool-Aid McKinstry in the first round, and I wanted to move back up into the first round so that I can have the fifth-year option on these guys if need be down the road. Now, if you want a full Kool-Aid McKinstry draft profile and film breakdown, I've already done it on my Patreon. I know you guys are going to like that content. I've also included Jared Verse and Terrion Arnold in my Patreon. If you guys want more draft content and film breakdowns, make sure you guys go ahead and check out my Patreon. The link will be in the description down below. But to give a brief, and I mean a very brief, overview of what Kool-Aid McKinstry brings to the table, he's a 21-year-old defensive back from the University of Alabama, played 3 seasons for the Crimson Tide. He was named the SEC All-Defensive First Team this past season in 2023 for the Crimson Tide. Kool-Aid in 848 snaps allowed just 19 receptions on 39 targets. That's a 48.7 completion percentage, just 205 yards allowed, 1 touchdown, 4 passes deflected, and a 73.1 NFL passer rating when targeted in coverage. Kool-Aid McKinstry's got great length, speed, and athleticism. He's got great fluidity in his footwork and change of direction. He gets his hips turned around very well. Great use of his hands in press man coverage, something that the Jaguars are going to be implementing a lot with Ryan Nielsen as the new defensive coordinator. Kool-Aid does a great job of high pointing the ball and knocking the ball away. Like I said, if you guys want a full film and draft profile breakdown of Kool-Aid McKinstry, the Patreon's in the description down below. Now, the Jaguars only have 4 more picks after all of the trades that I had made, so I'm going to try to be as swift and fly through these as quick as possible. With the 114th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Xavier Thompson, edge, University of Clemson, and this is a pick that I think long-term is going to really work out for the Jaguars. I don't believe that Xavier Thomas is a number 1 or even a number 2 edge as of right now. He's not as well polished, but I do see him providing that DeJuan Smoot type of production as a mid to late round pick in the draft that can end up being very serviceable for the Jaguars moving forward, and especially you get more edge rushing depth alongside Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, and now you throw in Eric Armstead with Xavier Thomas. Boy, you've got a front 7 in the defensive line that is going to get after it. And just to be brief with him, he comes in at 6'2", 244 pounds. He just wrapped up his 4th season for the Clemson Tigers in 2023. He registered 43 quarterback pressures, 4 sacks, and 32 quarterback hurries, and he definitely has the Trent Baalke prototype written all over him. He comes in with 32 7/8 inch arms, his hand size 9 1/8 of an inch. He ran a 4.62 at the 40, and he also had a 32.5 inch vertical. Good athleticism. He's got a good first step, a very good IQ in terms of play recognition, something that you want to see. And also, I think if he bulks up and continues to perfect his game, work on his hand movement, and especially in a 3-4, I think that's where I see him succeeding a lot more. With the 116th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Keegan, guard from the University of Michigan. And the Jaguars, they are 1 bad injury, and I'm telling you, 1 injury away on the interior of the offensive line for it to look poor. As of right now, you've got Ezra Cleveland, you've got Mitch Morse, and you've got Brandon Sheriff. If one of those guys goes down or has any kind of significant injuries, that interior of the offensive line doesn't look too good. Let's go into the draft and let's go get some legitimate guard depth. And that's exactly what Trevor Keegan is going to provide. This past season for the Michigan Wolverines, he registered 836 total snaps on the season, but in 382 pass blocking snaps, he allowed 0 sacks, just 1 QB hit, and 11 quarterback pressures. And this is a man amongst boys. Trevor Keegan comes in at 6'5", 310 pounds, 32 3/8 of an inch arms, and hand size 10 inches. bolster the offensive line, continue to protect your franchise quarterback, and get a guy that has a lot of upside moving forward at the next level. Now moving into the 6th round, I'm going to be sticking with the University of Michigan. With the 212th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Joshua Wallace, cornerback, University of Michigan, and same situation here. You can never hurt to have depth, and I think that's exactly what Joshua Wallace is going to provide for this Jaguars team. You've already taken Kool-Aid McKinstry to be your outside corner opposite side of Tyson Campbell. Now you ensure that you have more depth outside of just Ronald Darby. You've still got guys like Buster Brown. You've also got guys like Gregory Jr., and now you've got more depth with Josh Wallace. He comes in at 5'11", 185 pounds. His arms, 31 3/8 of an inch. Hand size, 8 7/8 of an inch. He had a 34.5-inch vertical and a 10-foot broad jump at the combine. I never got his 40 time, even at the pro day. I couldn't find it anywhere. He played 4 seasons at UMass before transferring to Michigan this past season, and in 616 total snaps for the Wolverines, in 367 coverage snaps, he allowed just 21 receptions, 41 targets. That's a 51.2% completion percentage when targeted in coverage, just 211 yards allowed, 0 touchdowns allowed in coverage, and 3 pass breakups. This guy has the chance to be a legitimate slot corner, I think, at the next level, because he is a little bit undersized, doesn't have quite the speed and athleticism at the next level as of yet. But if you can have that depth and you can really groom this guy to get better over time and continue to perfect his game, he could be very serviceable at the depth position in the secondary for the Jaguars moving forward. And now getting into the last pick for the Jaguars, with the 236th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be selecting Isaiah Davis, running back, South Dakota State University. And this, to me, is a guy who has a lot of tremendous upside as a late round pick. The Jaguars could always use more running backs, because I'm not sure how Tank Bigsby is going to turn out. I'm hopeful he's going to have a bounce back season, but if he does have a sophomore slump, Isaiah Davis can provide a lot of good upside. Look at what this guy came and did at South Dakota State last season. Now, he does come in at 6 feet tall, 218 pounds. He ran a 4.57 40, so not the fastest guy, 34.5-inch vertical, and he did 23 reps in the bench press. Now, that's light work to me. I'm getting at least 32 reps, but you gotta say, for a running back, that's pretty impressive. This past season for the Jackrabbits, or Rabbits, Jackrabbits, that's something what South Dakota State is, 236 rush attempts, 1,578 yards, 6.7 yards per carry, and chalk up 18 touchdowns. Isaiah Davis is a guy that has that upside, can provide that spark potentially for that second unit, and Isaiah Davis is a guy that has a lot of upside. He's produced at the collegiate level the last 2 seasons for South Dakota State. Maybe he's a home run steal late on in the 6th and 7th round. But Jags fans, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys make of my 7-round mock draft, and what do you think about me making 2 big-time unrealistic trades that we know is not going to happen to go up and acquire Malik Neighbors and Kool-Aid McKinstry, get 2 guys at the wide receiver and at the cornerback position that is going to solidify this team and I believe take it to the next level? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And Jags fans, like I said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure that you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below so that you guys can go ahead and check that out. But Jags fans, thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. And like always, let's go Jags.